Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with Louis D'Souza and Amy Blackford. Today is Monday, September the 21st, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And all kinds of stuff is happening here at LOA Today. Not only have I been experiencing the stuff with possibly getting our program onto TV, but we got new guests coming in. We've got a change that's going to go on for a short period of time here on the Monday show. Exciting things are happening too, and a lot of them surround Amy. I don't know if you want to talk about Amy, but the one thing we can talk about is that we're going to be missing you for about the next 5 weeks or so. So that's
yes, I will miss you all too, but it's for a wonderful thing that's happening in my life, and I am moving into a house and out of an apartment.
Ooh, yeah.
My husband and I got remarried in January, just for our audience, our listeners to understand, and we have not lived together, and it's been 9 years. And so this is obviously the next step. We've been back together for 3 years, but we got remarried in January, and we have found the perfect house, and we're very excited about it. So the move is going to be starting as of this weekend. And we're just going to slowly move over there, through the course of October, because I have many things, lots of art and decorations and books and you name it, it's in here. So I'm also going to be doing a nice cleanse of things that I don't need anymore. And that always feels really good. So I always look at moving as a huge opportunity to give things to people in need that need the things that I don't use anymore. And then to just get rid of some things that it's not important in my life. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's a great
idea.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. We've got my wife's got a nurse at work, and she's building a hospital in Africa.
Ooh. And
she gets given lots of things, and we put loads of things aside. Our whole garage was full, and I couldn't use it. And she comes around with this huge thing, sends it off to a container. The container gets shipped out eventually when it gets full to Africa, and it just feels good to be able to be helping in any different way, in many different ways.
Absolutely.
To give back in that way.
And sometimes we can get buried in our things, and I can always start feeling the energetics in my home when there's too much clutter. I have my space, and I like it to be a certain way and warm and welcoming with things that are treasures to me. But all of a sudden I will start feeling a dissonance in the energy field, and I'll move things around, clean things up, give things away, throw things away, and it just changes the way that it feels. And I think that's a really important for my own spiritual growth and well-being is my space, my sacred space being, my whole home is my sacred space, but it feeling a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do Feng Shui?
I've never studied it, but I have a very good understanding just from my own experience within my own home where things belong and how that changes the energetics in the home.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I actually really, that's something I haven't studied that it's on the list.
On the back burner.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. I saw a few shops do it once, and the difference energetically to those shops was mind-blowing.
Yes.
I've seen it done in the home, and I remember when my mentor did it in her home, I went there and I literally couldn't find her house. I was like struggling to find which one of the doors was hers. And when I went in, I was like, this was a completely different house. It was literally energetically and from so many different levels, it was a different house. And it really shocked me the actual effect something like Feng Shui can do. And it's just tidying things up, having a right place for them, putting certain things on certain walls and not on others and all the rest of it. And
having
facing
that balance.
North, south, east, and west is very powerful, If you want to sleep, you really want to have your head facing north or east. You do not want it facing south or west.
Yeah, I'm going to actually look into
just
the basics
as well.
before we set the house up now.
Yeah. No, that's a good place because starting with a fresh canvas.
A fresh palette. So that kind of, the conversation starter, and I know we'll go off into other things today, was just, I know this is kind of basic law of attraction 101, but I know a lot of listeners here, this is new for them. So one of the things that I really learned in the search for this new space to be in was how to start general, as Abraham teaches, when you're going to manifest, you want to take the thing that you're trying to manifest. It needs to feel good. Like you need to be able to believe that you can have it. So sometimes you have to start very general. And then as you're hunting for things and they're coming to you, you get more specific by getting what you don't want. So each house me and my husband kept looking at, it was like, this isn't it. The energetics weren't right. The location wasn't right. It was almost immediate. As soon as I would walk into the house, you know, I'd look at the photos, but when I was in the space, it was like, nope, this isn't it. And so I kept cataloging what isn't working for me or what I don't like. But instead of us getting upset about it, was like, okay, let us now define more. The last piece was the outdoor space, having a pretty lawn and a place that we can be outside. And we hadn't really put a lot of thought into that. So this final house had that. And it was like, okay, this is the one.
That's fabulous.
So it's really, that's such an important thing that you pointed out, Amy, is to really, you know, when you know what you don't want, is to really spend a little bit of time focusing on what you do want.
Yes.
And it is really a shift. Like, you know, I really don't like the energetics, and wouldn't it be nice to have a house that I just walk in the door and I feel comfortable in it?
Yes.
And then, you know, I might feel comfortable with this house, but I'd feel even more comfortable if there was a nice outdoor space for my kids to play.
Yes, that's exactly.
So when you know what you don't want, you have like a better idea what you do want, and you start massaging it. Because when I started with a Jaguar, I literally said, okay, I want to test the law of attraction, and I'm going to try something that I don't really care about that much, because I didn't care much about cars. I really had it wasn't a big thing for me, you know, never was. I had a Honda, and it was comfortable. It was an automatic, and blah, blah, blah. It was a very nice, comfortable car, but it wasn't important to me. It's something that got me A to B was my philosophy, you know. So then I started saying, you know, if I want to test the law of attraction, I start with something that I don't have too much emotional attachment to.
Right.
You know, I'm not really desiring a Jaguar. It wasn't a big thing for me. So I started off with that, and I started just saying, I just want to see if I can see some. That's how I started. And then I started seeing 1, started seeing 2, started seeing 3. And then in a day I would start seeing 4 or 5. And then after a week and month, it was 10s, and it almost felt like hundreds in the end of the day. And then I started saying, no, like you were doing. I don't like this color. I don't like the white and black. It's boring.
Right.
They're really boring colors. And then I started going through the different colors, and then I saw the red, and I said, like, that's the color. That's the color. And then, you know, it starts getting clearer and clearer and clearer. And, you know, what LOA teaches you, and I think it's the biggest, beautiful, most greatest gift that it does, it starts allowing you to believe you can have anything.
Yes, that is 110% true and key. And for those first starting, like what you just pointed out, it is easier with things you aren't as attached to. So for me, my living space, my lease is up at November, the end of November. And I kept saying over and over, I want us to find the house, or we're going to find the house in September, because this is going to give me plenty of time to get moved and to not feel that super anxious, rushed feeling, because I didn't want that. Because I'm also finishing a novel to get to my editor to start finding an agent. So there's all these reasons that I wanted to get the house several months before I actually have to vacate this apartment. And it happened just like that. It's so amazing, just perfect. It's not the end of September yet, and here we are.
So Amy, it's remarriage, new house, publishing book, and I'm sure there's 101 other things going on. And it's no surprise your health is taking a bit of a kick.
You know, I looked at the Wounded Healer after me and you had spoken about that, and that is definitely 100% nailed what I'm going through.
Where did you go to understand the Wounded Healer? I'm really curious.
I actually just gave it a Google.
Yeah? Where did you land up?
I can't even remember the site name, but it pretty much described my personality. And what I've also associated with the Wounded Healer is I've come into this world by books. My mission was to help with healing in some way. I've always been that person, whether it was with my connections and my friendships. And I really need to learn how to heal myself. So there's a lot of different interpretations that I'm getting from it. And I feel like the physical challenge that I'm going through with my lower back right now, and I got sick all at the same time. It was like I have to monitor my stress more, and I really have to start monitoring the way that I am talking to my body, because I'm obviously out of alignment in my body, or this wouldn't be manifested.
Jeffrey's
You know what I'm hearing, Amy?
Yeah. Jeffrey's asking if the wounded healer is Chiron. Is that right?
I have never heard what Chiron is. What is Chiron or not?
It looks like a name, like a proper name.
So let me just give you a brief description of the wounded healer. The wounded healer is when you're sick, wounded, like me. I had really bad chest trouble. I've had a lot of health issues.
Okay.
That is a wound. That's defined as a wound.
Right.
Now, because I worked my way through it, got healthy and all the rest of it, I'm now able to help others achieve a similar thing. So that's the definition of a wounded healer. Wounded healer is somebody who's been down and out, had all their physical health challenges, overcome them, and now because of the process, they're in a position to be of great benefit to others who are in that position, who want to get into a position that you've changed.
What's interesting that you say that is because I've been on this mission since I was young to basically help in some way, to be a healer of some kind. And I believe that's what what I'm doing with my stories. And so for a long time, I've said to myself, until I have learned to heal my wounds, I won't be an effective teacher. I would not be able to provide this type of healing for others through words or whatever modalities. So it completely lines up with what you're saying here and what I've always inherently known. And so instead of feeling beaten down by what's happening to me physically, although it is very challenging, I'm looking at it as the next step in my own spiritual evolution. And it was like learning the law of attraction. It's the next thing for me to really work through and master.
By the way, the reference to Chiron was Jeffrey showing off his knowledge of Greek mythology, because the centaur Chiron was a wounded healer after being poisoned with an incurable wound by one of Hercules' arrows. So
interesting.
So, Jeffrey, kudos to you. Spot on. Absolutely accurate. And I am now enlightened, and I will use that in the future, and I appreciate it.
I love how all different pieces of culture can link up together like that.
Absolutely.
Though.
And Greek mythology is so powerful in so many ways. I've just been playing a PC game that has been based around all the islands around Greece, and talking about Socrates and all the other philosophers during that era, and it's just it was so brilliantly done. I can't begin to describe how amazing the game was. They give a whole intro and fly in and fly around all the different buildings, and they've renovated them and all the rest of it. But this is off track a little bit, but it's really the Greek mythology is amazing, really. Something about it, and I haven't studied it much. I actually quite enjoy my ignorance of things, and I enjoy it when I get it like when Jeffrey has given me this little crumb, and then I can say I got it from there. I didn't go study Greek mythology. I got given crumbs.
There is so much to know. I don't know when this happened. Probably, I would say maybe 10 years ago. I said, there's so much I don't know, and that's okay. Meaning, not that ignorance is bliss, because I'm studying and engaged and obviously in the things that I love, but also leaving that room and that space, and you don't have to keep cramming it with more information. I think there is so much information, especially with the internet and social media.
Well, exactly.
We're kind of inundated with it, right? Well,
it's actually the beauty of it. I mean, it used to be the only way you would know this stuff is if you went out of your way to go study it in a library.
That's right.
Now, I mean, literally, I learned that at the stroke of a keyboard, I was able to give you that information. Did I have it in my head? Absolutely not. I had no clue.
It's unbelievable and so amazing when you really think about it.
So when all that information is out there, I don't worry anymore about whether I know it. It doesn't matter whether I know it.
It doesn't matter. Just give it a Google.
Walt, it's us fossils that really appreciate the contrast.
Yes, that's right.
These young kids, they have no idea what it's like. That the only information you've got is that that salesman that came around to your house when you were a kid and sold your dad an encyclopedia. That is it. You're living in the sticks in Africa, and the only thing you've got is an encyclopedia,
That's right.
which I never looked at.
Or like when we were kids, going to the library and having to go through all the index cards. I can't even remember what it's called.
Yeah, that's right. Those index cards. Yeah.
Flashcards.
just going through those and trying to find.
And then they had those microchips.
Shelf.
Remember what an amazing leap forward that was. You could get these tiny newspapers on these tiny little things with this magnifying.
I'm just thinking about your dad. He probably went in on a monthly payment plan to pay for that.
Yes, to pay for the encyclopedia, which I never used. Yeah, it's terrible.
It is wonderful, though, for everyone that's listening. Learning the law of attraction to me is it is the foundational principle to your spiritual evolution, to your own evolution and understanding your own power and creating and manifesting the reality that you want. And wow, does this stuff work? Because with the house, as the date was approaching for my lease to be up, my desire, I knew and believed, even though we were seeing a bunch of houses that were not fitting the bill, I just knew this is when it's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. And I believed it because I've now shown myself so many times. Look at what I can manifest. So once you've proven it to yourself enough times, like you did with your, the Lamborghini, the red one, right?
Jaguar, Lamborghini's
Jaguar, right. One of those sports cars.
One overpriced sports car at a time.
I do love how
you're like me, Amy. Cars don't mean too much.
I love how you really did point out, though, that was something you weren't attached to, because that can be that is definitely
so much easier that way.
So much
but I
easier.
have to admit that it took many years to manifest it. But I wasn't actually interested in manifesting the car initially. I was just interested in finding them.
And weren't you seeing them everywhere at first? Yeah, because I remember.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the first thing was I said, what car is rare in my area? And that I like for one or other reason. And I told Walt in one of the episodes, the reason I liked the Jaguar is because it was in a James Bond movie. And I was very fond of James Bond movies as a kid. So Jaguar stuck in my mind as one of the nice cars that I should look at. And that was it, And then, there were literally very, very few in my area. Now, just in my tiny little neighborhood here, there's 2 black Jaguars and my red one, and there's one old one, and there's another one around the corner. It's a little bit further away, and there's one down the road. Every time I come down to the bottom of the road, there's the blue one. So now I'm just surrounded by them. It's like absolutely surrounded by them, and they're all over the place, and more popping up all the time. But the thing that surprised me more than anything, Amy, is this: that I've come to love and appreciate the car more than I ever dreamt I could appreciate an item. That was an absolute shock. I mean, my daughter came and saying, "Why do you keep on cleaning the car?"
I love this car. Wax on,
and it's
wax
not
on.
that. It's like I like keeping it clean now, as opposed to the other time where I'd wait for it to really get dirty, and grimy, and then I'd go down to the local thing. Now I found the absolute perfect LOA. Stuff for the windscreen and stuff for the bodywork, and literally you can take a dirty car, spray it on, wipe it with one cloth, and the wax goes on, cleans off all the dirt, and then you just take another cloth and polish it, and that's it.
Nice.
You don't have to use water, you don't have to use anything. You just spray the stuff on. Just need 2 cloths, one that can take away the dirt and put on the wax, and the other one just polishes it up, and it's so easy. And it's like, I'm saving myself a fortune for not going getting it cleaned all the time.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I'm maintaining it and it's so easy. It takes me about 5 to 7 minutes to polish the whole car because it's already at a fairly high level, and it's just like, and it's done. And
you have this response
when
to
you're wiping it, you're going,
manifested.
this is just such a beautiful color. This is just such a nice car. And, the appreciation is just pouring out of me, and it's like, if I can use a car to feel like this, it's so cool.
Well, that's the key, what you just said there, using an object to feel that way.
Yeah.
You didn't really, like you said, you didn't really intend to attract an object in order to feel that way. You were just testing things out.
Exactly.
But you allowed it to kind of just keep rolling.
To manifest and manifest and manifest into something else and something else.
And I think that's what I'm most excited about moving is the energetics. It's the energy shift that I know is coming. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling that my body is going to go through a deeper healing because of it. I have just this inherent feeling inside of me that by moving spaces, getting that clean slate and being in a new energy because I have not been happy in this apartment for 2 years. And so although I've made the best of it, I know that's had probably an effect on my health and my body because that's really when the chronic pain started. Mm-hmm. So I'm really
Amy,
looking forward to this.
I loved something Abram said. Abram was saying to this guy who couldn't sell his house, he said, you know what you do? It's quite simple. Do you remember when you moved into that house, how it felt? And the guy said, yeah, I was excited because I was going from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom and, it was bigger and better. And Abram said, that's it. That's the kind of feeling you need to get back there and it'll sell no time. And the guy commented later that, yeah, he sold it within a week just by changing that concept in his head of, from where you're at with, I already want to get out of here. I want to get to somewhere else. I don't like this place anymore to, I remember how much I really appreciate this place and all the rest of it.
And I did. When I first moved into this apartment, I loved it because it was an upgrade from a smaller apartment in this complex. And it really served me very well. And so I did start feeling, especially when I was under the weather last week, I definitely could feel myself blocking the manifestation of this house, the one that we've got. And I felt it happening. I said, this is exactly what you need to not do. Just do things that feel good. Put on funny movies. Shift your focus and let it come to you. You've already put it out there. You've already really defined what you want, and now just let yourself receive it. And Abraham also talks about that so much. Just get your mind off it. You don't have to keep asking for the same thing over and over. Once you get a clear vision, now you just have to keep yourself in alignment to receive what you've asked for. And that is a very powerful step. And it was wonderful this week when I wasn't feeling physically well, that I was able to monitor my resistance that I was having, and I could feel myself blocking something coming, and boom, here's the house. So yeah.
There's one other thing I wanted to point out about that to our listeners, because there'll be some of the older listeners, and my folks are moving from the big farmhouse into a smaller community place, and that was a huge shift from them to let go of all the big stuff and now go to a smaller place, but they felt so much happier. Yeah. So it's not necessarily the size that is of all import. It's really what you want for your next step.
Yes.
And it was quite important to really get in my head that a lot of people are needing to downsize at this stage.
Yes.
Because it's actually a better fit for them for any of numerous different reasons. But for you, it's exciting because it's like going into the inner worlds.
Yeah.
It's a very higher room. The rooms are bigger. The vibration's bigger. Everything's bigger.
There's more space for our family and the privacy of being in a home. Yeah. And the outdoor space, it just is really going to serve us very well. And it's actually, as far as economically, it's the same as me being in this apartment. So there's no big real change other than a huge upgrade. So that also feels amazing.
As you guys, I was pausing here and just focusing for a moment on what you alluded to, Louie, about how the gentleman who was trying to sell his home was asked to remember what it was like when he first acquired the home. Yeah. And I applied the same principle to the apartment we're in right now. Now, right now, we're in an apartment that's really too small. It's completely overcrowded with stuff. We need to get rid of some stuff, but we also need to have more room. I mean, there are more negatives piled up than you can possibly shake a stick at. But when I think back to how we ended up in this apartment, the overwhelming feeling that comes to me was a memory of relief and release. Mm-hmm. And I say that is, at that time, our financial lives were in 100% total chaos. Everything was falling apart. The whole thing was just one bad thing after another. And so ending up in what is now a too small an apartment was like, oh, thank God, we have a place to sleep.
Right.
Literally that kind of a feeling. And I'd forgotten that.
Wow.
That's really important to remember because that was a very different feeling from the feeling we have now. And I'm going to remind Louise after the podcast, we should be focusing more on what that was like. Because that's
absolutely.
Because especially if you want to sell it, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference. The speed with which you sell it,
Well, not
and the
even so
price
much.
you get.
I mean, we're not selling it because we're renters, but it's
Oh,
more
okay.
like getting into the space of being able to get the next place.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
That's where
Right
we
now,
were.
It's all the process, all part of the process. Yeah.
We've been focused so heavily on, we don't like this place. It's got all the wrong
Yeah.
stuff. It doesn't have the right cabinetry. The kitchen's
Yes.
there's not enough room for our stuff. I mean, that's all just one thing after another that we don't like, but that's where we've been focused.
There's a reason why you got a green screen.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like the old joke of, boy, you could afford a green screen? Boy, I wish I could afford a green screen.
But you know what? We recently, all aligned with the car. So we took our garage, which one of them we were renting, and they're both next to each other, but both too small to fit our car in. So you could, literally struggle to fit a car in. I don't know what they made them for minis in the old days. I just don't get it, but never mind. So what we did is we were renting one of the garages. We told him we were ending that contract. We broke the wall down the middle and we made it into a double garage with, an automatic door, etc., a roller door. And it's given us such a huge leash on life. For so many things in the house could go into the garage, the kitchen space, the extra deep freeze in there for all the fruit, etc. We now bought a bigger one for the garage, sent the other one to Africa, and so we got this much bigger space. I managed to get a whole worktop, which I got at an incredibly discounted price with complete LOA story. And, it's the hardest wood possible. And, I've now got my workbench there with all my tools lined up on the wall with a very good price and all the rest of it. And everything's just fitting into place. And, everything's now emptied. So now I've got the whole garage to myself. And it just feels so good because a lot of the stuff that was under the stairs and cupboards and all the rest of it can now go into the garage. And, you can park the car with ease, with this huge garage, and you can open all 4 doors, and you're undercover, and it's so close to the house, and you can empty everything, and it's a real luxury. That is beautiful.
It is.
It's really, really nice.
It's funny that you keep mentioning that because that's where we're starting the move. Is I have a garage, even though it's an apartment, I lucked out and got a garage. So it's got all the Christmas decorations, and slowly but surely over the 3 years, it's a little bit of a hoarder status in there. Mm-hmm. And everything just kind of getting shoved back in there that I don't want to deal with. So it's going to feel amazing. My husband is going to bring his trailer. That's what we're doing this weekend, is emptying out the garage, bringing what we're keeping over to the new garage, and then going to give things away, throw things away. And then I can use the garage as my space as I'm packing up my apartment so I don't have boxes everywhere. That's very important to me, is to keep things organized. So I have a game plan, and the fact that you keep talking about the garage, it is a luxury. When I got an apartment with a garage, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. I was not expecting that my unit came with that when they told me this is the one that I was getting. And so it has been very luxurious, and the house has an even nicer one. So I'm super excited about that.
It's so nice to park your car close to the house. It's just and have an easy access to your house and the garage.
It's the little things, but they're not really
It is a small thing, but you can really, I can appreciate it, really. I mean, I can now appreciate being able to, after all those years of not being able to really park a car inside this tight confines of my small garage and having to use it more as storage like everybody else does, I can now actually use it for my car. Have it close to the house.
So much.
Yes. So, as I was saying to Walt, I can do some woodwork and I can turn around and polish the car, and I've got my little man den, or whatever they call it, man cave.
Yep.
And, there's so many dimensions to the whole thing. It's just gorgeous.
But it all boils down to one thing: appreciation.
It is, absolutely. And if you really want to do LOA well, you need to find something that you appreciate. You need to find more things that you can appreciate. And believe me, it's not the easiest thing for me. I appreciate intellectual conversations. You don't get those every day, all day. So, I've had to try find other discussion, other points of things that I can try really, really appreciate.
I love that. Well, it's easy to be in appreciation when you're on that high flying disc.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got it going, right? But last week, when I'm icing my back and I had a stomach bug, And we had not gotten the house yet. Believe you me, that was a real challenge to be in a level of appreciation, but I did start doing that. I was like, okay, you're going down the rabbit hole. We've experienced this is as low as it's getting. Come on, we got to swing this back up. And now I feel great. It's like now I'm feeling amazing and we're getting the house, and I can translate sometimes excitement almost feels like an anxious energy to me. And so right now that I'm trying to just kind of put a lid on that part of it and not overthink it and just know that it's just going to take one step at a time. I'm going to take this one thing at a time, literally one drawer at a time.
Yeah. Well, I had a similar experience last week. After we did our show last Monday.
Yep.
I haven't told the details. I'm still not ready to tell the details, but
okay.
I kind of outlined what happened. I outlined it last Tuesday. That evening, an event occurred which took me from the high of our show down to the deepest depth of depression that I have felt in years.
Oh, my goodness.
It was a massive crash. And I literally could see my next 6 to 12 months unraveling in front of my eyes.
Wow.
That's how serious it seemed to me.
I was right there with you. It's so interesting that happened to you.
Yeah.
And it happened to me as well.
What day did this happen, Walt?
Monday.
Lord.
After we did the show last
Oh, you blame me. That's it. That's it.
Really?
No, actually,
your
I credit
fault.
you because you guys helped me stay high through the show. I'm the one who brought me down afterward.
No. There's nothing better than a big down.
It is the G-force.
It's so good. It's so cathartic.
The
There is something better.
The G-force drop from the high to the low is part of the ride, but it can be jarring.
But that's the rest of the story, you see,
Yep.
because, like I said, this is something that could have carried on for months at a time. And with,
That's right.
I mentioned before, financial chaos all over again. It could have been just that bad. But because I understood law of attraction and I have a wonderful wife who totally gets it and knew I needed to climb out of this pretty quickly, she helped me in ways that at the time I could barely even fathom because my brain had shut down. But she walked me through some stuff. We ended up going out just to get a quick dinner just so that I could just get away from the house.
Shift your
basically
focus.
Pick up patterns and so forth so that I could kind of catch my breath.
Yeah.
And within the course of 1 hour, the entire issue went away.
Yes, I love it.
The entire issue went away. Now, I attribute that to the fact that, well, first of all, we had just had a terrific show earlier that afternoon.
Yes.
But also that's part of an ongoing pattern that has been happening for quite some time. I mean, a lot of great shows have been happening here on the program, a lot of great things happening in my life, like you talked about earlier, a lot of instances reinforcing for me just how powerful this law of attraction is, just how powerful I am. So I had that wealth of background to fall back on. And even though most of it got shut out of my mind during it, there was just enough left, with some help from my wife, to climb back up. And when the climb happened, basically I manifested a miracle. And
nice.
Turned everything around.
That doesn't surprise me at all because you're that powerful. We all are, right?
We are, yeah.
And it's wonderful when you have a partner. My husband, he was the same way with me, kind of just coaching me and reminding me. And it's wonderful when your partner is there in that way for you. Because sometimes, like what you were saying, Walt, you can get sidelined so hard that it just sends you off spinning. So it's really nice to have a safety there, who I will call the husband or the wife, that can be like, hey, babe, remember, let's go to dinner or whatever, watch a show, and remember, it's going to be okay. And then, of course, you do.
Yep. And it worked.
One of the things that I think your wife was absolutely spot on with was moving you out of the location, and putting you in another one. That is so incredibly powerful.
Because space,
you just feel so much different in another space.
It is
it can
so.
have an
Wow, I love
effect.
how cohesive this entire conversation.
In
because
fact,
it is so true. Space contains energy, and just by moving location can create an energetic shift.
And in fact, she not only helped me change location, she helped me remember what happens when you're in the same location in that low vibe, because part of what was involved here involved the computer.
Okay.
And I had my immediate inclination was I got to go to the computer and do something to fix this. And her immediate inclination was, no way you're going near that computer in this state of mind, because you're going to break something and you're going to be even in a worse spot. And literally, I was shaking as she pulled me away from the computer. But I'm glad she did, because that was absolutely the right thing to do.
Brilliant.
In that moment,
well
you
done, Louise.
fried the computer just with your energy.
Absolutely. You know how many times my wife says to me, the only time I'm ever worried in a car with you, and I drive like a maniac, only time I'm ever worried in...
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Wait, let me see if I got this straight. We have a maniac with a Jaguar in his hands? Hold on.
A red Jaguar. So she said, the only time I ever worried about you in a car, because in the beginning she was worried about all my driving. Okay, everything about it was not kosher with her. And then because she came to trust me over time, she understood that the only time she ever needs to worry about me in a car is when I'm angry.
Right.
Yes.
If I'm getting angry, then it's like let's stop or do something.
Well, because we're such
and
powerful
I can
manifestors.
Exactly. When you become a powerful manifestor, it is more instantaneous. And
so if you're getting angry in the car, you're more prone to getting hit and getting into an accident and things.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it is almost guaranteed. So you really have to shift the vibe.
I do. I check myself. I told you all, when I get in my car in Atlanta with the traffic, I go from spiritual Amy to what I call mad Italian. Forget about it. Get out of my way. What's wrong with you? I'm like a New Yorker with an attitude. And I catch myself because I'm like, Amy, this is, you're first of all leaving yourself open here to getting into like an accident. And especially in Atlanta, they're happening all over the place here because of the traffic. It's out of control. So let's just align our energy to make sure we get from point A to point B and all is well. Like, it's not that important, you know?
Absolutely. Well, there's something that's been bothering me for the whole week after our last podcast. And Amy,
what
did
is
you
it
listen
about
to
last
that?
podcast? It's like after that,
everything fell apart. Did you listen to it, Amy? Just I want to know if you're on the same page.
I have not listened to it.
Not. You're fired. Next.
I know. I'm done. That's it. I'm out of here. Don't come back.
So quick recap. We're talking about, Walt said a lot of people need healing at the moment. So what do we need to do? So, I went through my step, my health and nutrition. But before I brought in something, and this is what I wanted to talk about before the health and nutrition. We brought in the health and nutrition, the liquid, the breathing, the thought, and packaging them together. But in the beginning, I said you really need to get your raison d'etre, your reason for being clearer, okay, or clear. And I wanted to correct that because although it really, really, really helps, a lot of us, many people that I've ever spoken to don't know what their reason is for being here. Yeah. So it's not like they're broken or they can't fix anything or can't move forward, and I wanted to put that in. But there was another thing that actually wasn't what I meant, and it wasn't what I wanted to portray. It just landed up how my conversation went, and it's been bothering me the whole week. So One thing I really wanted to say is you need to understand the rules to the game of life, not your raison d'etre. Okay.
I love that.
Now that is more important. Understand the rules to the game of life.
I agree.
That is so key. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely key. But there's two things about raison d'etre that I wanted to bring up. One is there's a personal raison d'etre that Walt told us about, what his raison d'etre was. Mm-hmm. And I know it's very fancy. Let me just change it to reason for being.
Right.
Your reason for being, Walt, you gave us a really great one of where you're at. But there's two reasons for being. One is your personal reason for being now, and it can differ tomorrow.
Often does. It's important to understand that. Your reason for being doesn't necessarily continue for any particularly long period of time. But the other thing I wanted to really point out is the reason for all being. There's a difference between your reason for being and the reason for all being.
Yes.
Now, Abraham Hicks points out, and I have taken this on board as my own philosophy, the reason for all being is one word, which breaks down to two words, which break down to 2 to 3 words, which breaks down to a whole sentence. And the one word is expansion.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So source is expansion. And I had it all clear in my head about the two words. Source, okay, this two word is source is expansion. Then the three words would be pure positive energies, reason for expansion. And then, I don't know, I had it all beautifully correlated in my mind. I should have written it down, as I usually don't. But the bottom line is, we are the humans in this contrasting universe with source energy as our light. And it's very important to understand the source energy light. So your mind isn't that light. Without the light of source, the mind is nothing.
Right.
Okay. So the brain is nothing. It's like, unless that light of source, the power that creates worlds, is shining on the mind or the thoughts, nothing happens.
I see source as the power, and the mind is like the hardware, like in the computer, but
absolutely.
It doesn't have the power on.
And the piece in between those two is LOA.
Yes.
So thought gets amplified by LOA, and LOA is source energy's power in the physical universe.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to point out. So understand the rules to the game of life is key to health. If you want to get your health right, you first want to get to understand how to use the incredible power of LOA and understand how your source energy, LOA, and you all fit together, and your thoughts.
Absolutely.
That's all I wanted to point out. Is I really would like to go back to that episode, say it all again, but put in these different aspects.
So many episodes. And each time you say it in a different way, it's resonating with someone else that's listening that needed to hear it in just that way, actually. So that's another thing that I love. Every time I've listened to Abraham, how many videos, the millions of them that I've listened to, every time, like with every year, she would find a new way to deliver the same information. Each time it clicked it in just a little bit deeper. And so that's what your Monday, co-host thing is you are free flowing, channeling what you're seeing and interpreting and expressing that. And it's resonating with exactly who is meant to resonate with at that time. But I love how you also are pointing out, for a long time, I thought I had my mission as a writer, and I really defined myself as that was my purpose. Now, it is what I love doing, and it is a purpose that I have, but it isn't my reason for being. And so I love that I have also learned to separate. These are things that I'm doing that I feel drawn to do in this moment, in this present moment. And yes, this is something I've been doing in this lifetime since I was a child, telling these stories, and it's developed. Here I am, 46, and I still obviously love doing it, but that isn't who I am. I'm not this body. I'm starting to learn a way of looking at myself as an individual, but not being so attached, because what happens when we change physically, when we're not the writer anymore, or we're not doing this, if we have our entire sense of being attached to that, that's where it all really kind of falls apart to me. So having that grounding, that just being is my reason for being here. And then outside of that, anything that I'm pursuing or doing for the collective good, for my own good, that's all extra. That's part of being in this, why I came into this physical playground, so to speak.
The thing that's really struck me, Amy, and it's the one humanity seems to struggle with the most, is I really have now come to peace with the fact that nobody's broken.
Yes.
Right. Nobody is broken.
Nobody needs me to fix them.
No, absolutely.
And it took me a really long time to fully get there.
Oh, me too. Up until, honestly, just a few years ago, I was always the counselor, to my friends. And not that I still don't listen and have compassion in my relationships. I do.
Absolutely.
But I no longer take on other people's struggles and challenges as my own, because that's what I used to do. And there's a huge difference. I see Walt nodding. Yes, right, Walt?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. In fact,
well, you struggle with your own weight. Now, how can you deal with everybody else's?
The opportunities keep coming every single day. I mean, every single day, practically every hour, they keep coming.
Yeah.
And I think that's partly because of, where I focus my time. I focus quite a bit of my time on people, on my listeners, on my co-hosts,
Yes.
other people in my life, people I know online and so forth. And as a result of that, I'm constantly meeting new people, finding new perspectives, and getting practice with exactly what you're talking about. Getting practice with just letting them be who they are, not trying to fix them. Actually, I've gotten to the point now where not fixing them is not even an interest anymore. Now it's more to the point of, gee, I wonder who they are, and that's about it.
Right.
It's like, forget it, not even part of the equation anymore. But the opportunities are still there. I mean, I could be trying to fix people if I really, really wanted to. It's just I don't really care to anymore.
Walt, the thing that I'm now seeing with great clarity is the circumstances that the person has put into their life to get to the place that they're at, the time and effort that they have spent to get into that, let's use the word shitty place. Okay. And I'm now really appreciating the time and effort and the thought processes that must have been going to LOA that is expanding them, that's bringing them to this place now. And I'm seeing the perfection of it, and I'm saying, wow, what a great job you're doing. And they're in such a crappy place, and they're such a horrible situation. And I'm thinking, wow, you have done a great job to get there, And I'm really seeing that with so much clarity now, and it's scary because it's like, literally nobody's broken. Nobody's broken. Everybody's created this beautiful place for themselves. And I know that's difficult for humanity to get behind. It's just a tough.
It's a funny thing too,
because everyone will begin saying, "What about this?"
Oh,
segment?
sure. Exactly.
It already happened. I post our LOA Today podcast up on my Facebook, and one of my friends, who I will not name, basically started with the nihilist comment. And when you basically are into LOA today, or not LOA today, specifically law of attraction, this mindset that we're the creators of our own reality. It's that mindset that people can't wrap around. They want to say, but what about this section of society, or this section, or this section? They didn't ask for that. That's when it starts getting into, okay, that's what the stream is for, David Strickler, to start explaining those higher levels. Like, I understand that we all incarnate to come here to have specific experiences, and there are things that I cannot explain. I'm not even going to try to. I just know that this law works.
I had a conversation with Daniel Mangana on Thursday, because in that Thursday we decided we were going to turn into kind of a pilot, if you will, for the TV series that we're proposing, something that we can show to the local cable access stations. This is the kind of thing that we plan to do, and I built some credits for it and an intro scene and all that kind of stuff. And I asked Daniel to do the show because he's really good at getting down to basics, kind of like Louis. It was kind of a toss-up. Did I want Louis or Daniel? And Daniel's show was next, so he won. But, I mean, it could have been either way. But Daniel came up with a brilliant way of presenting to beginners on a basic level, because virtually everybody who listens to that are going to be beginners. They'll have never heard the concept before. So I asked him, okay, when you're presenting this to beginners, how do you do it? And I won't be able to say it exactly the way he did, but the gist of it was this. I always start with the fact that there is one common denominator in everything that we do. That common denominator affects all of our relationships. It affects our career. It affects our money. It affects our wealth. It affects our health. It affects everything. That one common denominator is ourselves. And if we can all come to agree that that is the one factor that always applies in every situation, now we have a foundation to start with. But until we can come to that agreement that that is the one common denominator, then we're going to get fingers pointing in all kinds of directions. Yeah, but what about this? What about that?
Sure.
We all agreed. It starts with the fact that we are the common denominator.
Yes.
And that just calms a whole lot of stuff right down. I love the way he presented that. It was beautiful.
I love that too.
Yeah.
Whenever I see patterns repeating in my own life, I always have to say, well, what's the common denominator? It's me. And that's how I've been able to find subconscious beliefs that I really was not consciously aware of. They were subconscious, but by having them reflected back to me through certain experiences, with whether it was with people, circumstances, events that were transpiring, I was able to say, wait a minute. Okay, I'm looking in a mirror. Let me investigate this and then once I'm aware that it's there, then I have the power to change it.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
You know, the fascinating thing I was thinking about the other day is this idea that Source's only desire is expansion. And the interesting thing is, I can't prove it. Nobody on this planet will be able to prove it, I don't think.
Not yet,
okay,
anymore.
but if I use the basic principle that Abram teaches, that your emotions are your guidance, it feels good.
Yes.
It just feels simply good.
That's why I started with this, because when I started listening to her, when I first watched The Secret, I got the copy of The Secret before they actually cut her out of it.
That's
and my father-in-law had given it was like a pilot copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it sat there for 6 months before I watched it, and something drew me to it at that time in my life. And when I watched the movie and then I started listening to Abraham, because she was my favorite. So I found her, on my own outside of The Secret. It just felt like this is exactly how life works. Like I know it. I can feel it on the deepest core.
It just resonates completely.
So I had goosebumps over my whole body. I was crying, not from sadness, but from joy, because it made me feel, wow, once I master this, I really am in the power seat. I really am the one driving my own life forward, and wherever I want to go, whether I want to crush it and detour or I want to go on some beautiful, ride, that's up to me. I get to make those choices. And it's not just a bunch of events that are happening and being thrown at me. That makes you feel like a victim in life and like you're in the passenger seat and not actively participating.
Jeffrey asked a question in the live stream that fits in nicely with what we're talking about here.
Perfect.
Probably gives us another 5 minutes or so to talk about stuff before we run out of time.
Great.
But he asked, can Source be used for something other than expansion, perhaps healing or recreation or transformation?
All of it.
Well, Source is everything, so...
And all of those are examples of expansion.
Yeah, I would say Source is an energy. And yes, it can be applied to absolutely every aspect of your life. It is used for everything. It is the basis of all of reality, the energy.
So this is how I understand it. Source is pure positive energy, and if you're only pure positive energy, you can't have expansion.
Okay, so would you say that's where the physical body comes in? Because
that's where the physical universe comes in.
Right.
A
bipolar contrasting universe.
By having the contrast, now you see how important the negative is. You chose to come here to have the negatives.
I really embraced that, and honestly, last week, that's what helped get me through it. So I was like, well, you're getting a nice dose of this, Amy. Come on. Let's use our tools. And it really did.
That is the expansion scenario in your life. That is it. That is the pinnacle point of the turning. When you have those negativity,
and then like Walt, what you were saying, when you went from the high of the show and then you crashed and then you went back up, it's such an amazing feeling, the feeling of the contrast. So it's kind of allowing, I think what Louie has been saying and I've been saying is allowing ourselves, even when we're dropping, to enjoy that part as well and just to kind of surrender into it.
I can guarantee I did not enjoy it on the way. I promise you I did not.
Walt, I'm right there with you. When that G-force takes over for just a minute, I forget that I'm going to bounce back up. So, but there's a thrill in that, I guess.
When you can get step 5-ing, Wow. Wow. When you can, at the moment
this
you
is more
start
like
going down,
this is more like a
instantly turn
trip
it around.
5 rather than a step 5, really, when you look at it. But
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, as far as step 5 goes, the fact that your 7 months of depression goes into 1 hour, it's a step 5.
yes. I was proud of that.
Trust-wise.
That was a quick turnaround, Walt. High
Yeah.
fives to you.
I love that. Yeah, and talk about relief and release. Huge relief and release. It took me, there was so much relief and release, it took me 24 to 36 hours to feel it all.
Yeah.
I couldn't,
So
it
you
was
milked
too
it.
much
You
to
milked
handle
it.
all at once. I had to have that time to just process how much there was.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's delicious.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like Louis over there buffing his car.
That's nothing in comparison with Walt just experienced, I
I
promise
know.
you.
Mine was more like gasping for breath, but yeah, I guess there is a similarity.
No,
Yeah.
I've had the bigger contrast experiences, and the car is just a nice, gentle little one.
Yes.
By comparison, it is.
By comparison, it's...
This was the roller coaster. That was the gentle ride through the tunnel of love. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
right.
really the same at all.
Yeah, I feel like I just am going through the big drop coaster
Yes.
ride as well over the last few weeks, and I'm really just looking forward to this upcoming shift. I can already feel it now that I know that the house is ours, and you know, today was the day that we were going to be basically making it all official. And I'm so excited to share it with you all. And I will be excited to come back on the show. I'll keep you updated. So if I can come back on sooner, I definitely will. I just want to get in my new space. So the next time there'll be a different background.
There's going to be a whole lot of stories to go with it, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be really
and
good.
really, if you can do this, Amy, just really keep the whole LOA philosophy and process going through the whole move, all the
Yes.
different aspects of it, because it's going to be stressful, okay?
Louis,
Carrying
thank
those things
you.
out of one house and into another one, it's...
Well, and this is the height of our fireplace season, and we had the busiest summer ever. So now that it's getting cold, it's definitely busy. And like I said, I'm finishing this novel and getting it out to my editor. So I have a lot of different balls in the air, so to speak. So I am going to do just that. What you're saying is...
So letting it flow through you, just flow
Yeah.
flow through, and just knowing, just having that inner knowing which you've got a degree of understanding of, and of course we can all get better at it.
Yeah.
It's just that it's going to work out. It's going to work
It's
out.
always
And
working
just let it
out.
flow, let it flow, let it flow.
Thank you for that reminder.
And if you find yourself on the
But don't
track,
let it get stuck in you. Just let it flow through.
Right.
if you find yourself on the track and you're going down that roller coaster drop and your hands are going up in the air, recognize it's okay. It's like,
Put them all the way up in the air. Me and my husband actually have a favorite coaster. It is the Monster Coaster at Six Flags. And on that first drop, there is no straps. It's literally just a bar. And we put our hands up in the air, and it is the most exhilarating feeling. So
I
like
always
that
do that. I
analogy.
always do that.
Yeah.
I
I love
usually
that
throw
analogy. Thank you.
So cool.
well, as usual, we have found some amazing ways to travel through the expanse of the universe and of expansion and of source energy.
And gone through 1 hour in a blink.
And gone
In a
through an hour in
blink.
a blink. I always think about, well, this is something we actually mentioned on a show last week. I think about the fact that each time that we put these thoughts out there, we're spinning up all these new thoughts, and a lot of them are reinforcing old thoughts. So
Yes.
it's kind of like the show has its own little vortex that keeps getting bigger and bigger with all these thoughts that we just keep pouring
That's
into.
exactly what's happening. And I can feel that vortex.
Yes. Me too.
At some point, that's got to turn into something surprising, is all I can say. And I don't
Oh,
It's just going to grow and grow and grow.
You're going to be delighted because things are going to happen that you couldn't have even planned happening or imagined or dreamed. It's just going to keep expanding and delighting you.
And the point that I wanted to make is it isn't just me. That's what I'm so happy and grateful
Yes.
about. I've got currently 8 other people. Well, actually 7 because I'm going to miss you for a few weeks. But and Alex has been out of commission too, so maybe it's 6. But it'll be 8 very soon, plus a bunch of others who were there with me in the earlier years. And as far as I'm concerned, you're all part of that journey with me. So I'm looking forward to, this is what I'm leading up to. I'm looking forward to whatever that crazy expansion is going to be with a whole bunch of friends who've been riding the roller coaster with me. So that's my
Absolutely.
answer.
Amazing.
Riding the roller
Amazing.
coaster with me.
I'm glad I'm on this train with you guys.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And I've really appreciated the ride with you, Walt. It's great.
I'm loving the ride, and I may even be willing to let go and just throw my arms in the air. Who knows?
I love it, Walt. Do it.
Whoa!
I might not even throw up at the end.
Don't get lost in space out there, though.
Well, thank you guys very much. Amy, best of luck with the move and with
Thank
everything
you.
else dovetailing together. It's
Yeah,
all
have a
going to
good
work
one.
so beautifully. So it's
Yes.
just count on that. It's going to happen.
Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it from both of you.
We'll miss you while you're gone, and we'll be so glad when you come back. So
Absolutely.
looking forward to that. And Louis, as usual, and Isabel didn't get a chance to say anything. Did you want to say anything before we go, Isabel?
She said she was only going to be here for a few minutes, and she was.
Oh, it's been
but
okay.
she has just said to me, you must come have a look at my 4-year-old in her bed. She looks so adorable. I just want to leave everybody with that. You can visualize what that looks like.
Well, then we better log off so you can do it. So thank you very much, Louis. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Thank you, live streamers. Thank you especially to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.